And welcome back to Sports on Tap. Got a little bit of technical difficulties here with the voice of the show, Rob Troutman. This is Ed Dick here out in Studio J. We'll pick up the pieces here. We just got done discussing the Greater Cleveland Conference with Josh Jeffy. Once Rob gets his microphone together, we're going to go over some very exciting and high-scoring matchups in the Southwestern Conference. A lot of good stuff going on over there. This sounds like a disaster. I'm just going to pass my mic over to Rob, and he can get going. Oh, wait, hold on a sec here. Man, this is why we can't have nice things.
You know what? It doesn't sound like a disaster because I haven't had mic work yet. Our mic kind of went out right now, but it's all good. We're going to get into the Southwestern Conference, and we're back, Adam. Let's first start in Amherst, where it's the Avon Eagles who defeated the Amherst Steel Comets 30-0. But in this game, it was 0-0 after one quarter. Then a field goal by Mitch Cooper. The Eagles would score two more times before half to break it wide open. The Eagles led 17-0 before half, and they would win big 30-0. It was Mason McLemore who finished with over 100 yards, and quarterback Matt Kelly, he threw for two more touchdowns. For Amherst defensively, they were solid, even though Avon did score 30 points. Jeremy Smith led the team with 13 tackles, and it was sophomore Christian Velez who had 8 tackles on the night. Avon improves to 8-0, 7-0 in conference. Amherst drops to 2-6, 2-5. Avon wins big 30-0. Now we head to Westlake, where it was North Ridgeville traveling to Westlake. North Ridgeville led this game 10-0 after the first quarter, but Westlake responded by scoring 39 points in the second quarter to hold off a hungry Rangers team. It was Dean Schneider, Terrence Rose, Kadar Robinson, and Tarek Beach who combined to score 5 touchdowns in the quarter to give the Demons a 39-26 halftime lead.
Impressive.
And then Shamari Williams scored 2 touchdowns, and Colin Soldier threw for a touchdown there. The big play, though, for North Ridgeville was from Cade Riley, who ran for a 95-yard kickoff return. And for the Demons, it was quarterback Trey Bylois, who led a strong Demons offense by passing for 3 touchdowns. Westlake holds on to win 52-37. They are now in 9th in Joe Eitel's latest playoff rankings. And Westlake now improves to 5-3, 4-3 in conference. North Ridgeville falls to 2-6, 2-5, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. Westlake, though, very impressive that they had Terrence Rose, Kadar Robinson, and Tarek Beach all score. So it shows, they have different players scoring for their rushing attack. And, again, they improved to 5-3, 4-3, 9th. So they must win, probably out and have some teams win for them that they've beaten to get some points there, and we'll cover that here shortly. North Olmsted taking on Berea Mid-Park, and, man, this could have been a spotlight game. North Olmsted falls to Berea Mid-Park 45-43 in this game, and Berea Mid-Park got off to a 20-6 lead in the first quarter, thanks to 2 rushing touchdowns by Tyrese Holland and 1 by wide receiver Luis Vega. Then in the second quarter, the Eagles went on a 23-6 run, thanks to scores by Chris Jones, Darren Anders, and Brandon Maximovich with a touchdown pass there. Then in the fourth quarter, there were 10 seconds left, and the Titans trailed 43-39. Trevor Bazinski dropped back and threw a 30-yard touchdown pass to Cameron McCoy on 2nd and 10 with 3 seconds left as Berea Mid-Park defeated North Olmsted 45-43. Berea Mid-Park improves to 3-5, 3-4 in the conference on the year. North Olmsted falls to 2-6, 1-7 in conference, but some great stats for Tyrese Holland of Berea Mid-Park, the running back. He rushed 31 times for 246 yards and 3 touchdowns. On the year now, he has 1,413 yards rushing for the Titans. It was Trevor Bazinski who had 217 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. For North Olmsted, it was Chris Jones who had 3 touchdowns. And again, a great win for Berea Mid-Park, who's back in the win column 45-43. They beat North Olmsted. Now, Lakewood taking on Midview, and it was a long night for Lakewood as the Middies were led, of course, by senior quarterback and Kent State commit Dustin Crum, who threw for 3 touchdowns and ran for a 22-yard touchdown before being replaced by the reserves early in the third quarter. Midview's defense, they did play a big role in this game, getting a huge effort from senior linebacker Alex Forer, who took an interception, 54 yards for a score in the first quarter. And Forer would later pick up a fumble and return it for a touchdown. So 2 touchdowns on defense for Alex Forer, and he usually plays a big role on offense as a running back, this time doing it on the defensive end. And for Lakewood, it was quarterback Austin Mahar with a 6-yard run to give them their only score of the game for Lakewood. Midview improves to 7-1, 6-1 in conference. Lakewood falls to 0-8, 0-7. It was Midview 56, Lakewood 7. In this game. Again, Midview 56, Lakewood 7. Midview now 7-1, 6-1 in conference. Now, my spotlight game of the week, it was Avon Lake traveling to Olmsted Falls, and this is always a tough place to play, and it would come down to the last play in this game. And this had playoff rankings on the line as both teams come into the game 6-1. Not to mention the rivals that just don't like each other for the most part. Avon Lake would score first with a Mark Pappas touchdown pass to wide receiver Carson Toy. It was 7-0 after the first quarter. Then Olmsted Falls would respond in the second quarter on 2 touchdown runs by 2 different running backs. It was Luke Lombardo with a 12-yard run and Spencer Linville with a 2-yard run. It was 14-7 Bulldogs at this point, but Avon Lake then would tie the game with another Mark Pappas to Carson Toy touchdown. It tied the game 14-14 going into halftime. In the third quarter, there was only one score, and that was by Olmsted Falls. Josh Jakin with a 6-yard run to give the Bulldogs a 21-14 lead entering the fourth quarter. Avon Lake would score twice in the fourth quarter to take a 28-21 lead. And then it was Jack Summers and Tyler Nelson with touchdowns there. The Bulldogs, though, they weren't done. Brett Hutke, the quarterback for Olmsted Falls, capped a 10-play, 65-yard drive with a short touchdown run to cut the lead to 28-27. Then Olmsted Falls head coach Tom DeLuca had his offense back on the field after he called a timeout to decide if he wanted the extra point or go for 2. He decided to go for 2 and the win in this game, which he could have tied it up to take it to overtime. Instead, he wanted to go for the win. Quarterback Brett Hutke got stood up at the 1-yard line, then bounced to the outside, dove across the goal line, saw the ref's hands in the air, and that was the difference in this game as Olmsted Falls gets the win 29-28 over Avon Lake. Olmsted Falls improves to 6-2, 5-2 in conference. Avon Lake falls to 6-2, 5-2 in conference. Identical records between these two. Some stats on the day. Avon Lake passing, it was quarterback Mark Pappas with 294 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Receiving-wise for Avon Lake was Carson Toy, 8 catches for 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was Jason Sullivan, 5 catches for 99 yards. And it was a tale of 2 stories. Avon Lake was mostly passing. For Olmsted Falls, it was rushing. Spencer Linville, 27 rushes, 136 yards and a touchdown. Brett Hutke had 8 rushes for 76 yards and a touchdown. They had 299 yards rushing as a team. Again, a 29-28 win for Olmsted Falls in this game. And my spotlight game of the week coming up, it's going to feature the North Ridgeville Rangers. They're 2-6, 2-5 in conference versus the Lakewood Rangers at 0-8, 0-7. The battle of the Rangers here, and I think this could really be a close game, and Lakewood's trying for their first win here. They played some really tough games, and this is one I think could really be a close game. So the North Ridgeville Rangers against the Lakewood Rangers is my spotlight game of the week. And my Southwestern Conference Player of the Week goes to Berea Mid-Park running back Tyrese Holland. He had 246 yards and 3 touchdowns in a win against North Olmsted, and now he has rushed for over 1,400 yards on the season. And just a great year for Tyrese Holland. And, Berea Mid-Park has had a little bit of an up-and-down season, but he still has had a very good year. So congratulations to Tyrese Holland. And other very impressive stats for players, but I thought his was definitely a big one. Spencer Linville had a great game, too, with 136 yards. But let's look ahead now to the schedule as Berea Mid-Park travels to Avon. North Ridgeville at Lakewood. Avon Lake at Midview, which is going to be a huge game. Olmsted Falls at North Olmsted. That's got to be a must-win for our Olmsted Falls. Amherst Steel at Westlake, and Westlake again in that 9th spot. So they're going to have to get a win there. Now, looking at the standings, Avon at 8-0, Midview at 7-1 in second place. Olmsted Falls and Avon Lake at 6-2. You have Westlake at 5-3, and then it's Berea Mid-Park at 3-5. Amherst, North Ridgeville, and North Olmsted at 2-6 on the year. 0-8 is Lakewood. Now you have 4 teams trying to get into the playoffs here, and you have Avon at the number 1 spot in Region 6, and also Midview at number 3. Olmsted Falls at number 5, and Avon Lake at number 7. And then Westlake at number 9. So Avon Lake and Westlake. Avon Lake's going to take on Midview, and that's almost a must-win there. They can really get some big points and stay in the playoff race. Westlake at number 9. So they need some things to happen, and they must win. But they're still very capable of making it into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have between Glenville and Highland, you got some other teams there that are similarly grouped. Westlake, they have 2 very winnable games with Amherst Steel and Berea Mid-Park. They might not get a lot of points off of them, but there are 2 wins that you need to get if you're Westlake. And then you got to hope that, like a team like Glenville, for example, they're going to be going up against John Hay, who's currently 5-2, and then John Marshall, who's 1-7. As is the case that usually happens with Glenville, they get hurt by the Senate League a lot because that conference is basically just Glenville and usually one other team that's relatively okay record-wise but always cannot compete with Glenville. And they always have 3 tough non-conference games that ends up costing them the playoffs if they don't win, or costing them a good seed in the playoffs if they don't win at least one of them. As you said before, Avon and Midview, they're in. They've already clinched. I mean, they know they have Week 11 coming their way. It's just a matter of playoff positioning at this point, making sure that they are able to get that first-round home game that's awarded to the higher seed in the first round. Avon Lake's looking like they're in a pretty good spot. Like you said, though, I mean, a tough game against Midview coming up this week, and then a very winnable game against North Olmsted. And that's pretty much it. I mean, and they got Olmsted Falls. They have North Olmsted rivalry game, so you throw the records out when those 2 teams play. And then they have a very tough task in Avon coming up in Week 10. So, it's probably going to behoove the Bulldogs at least get a win this week and then see what you can do against Avon in Week 10.
I like that.
That's a good word on a Monday.
Now,
How about that?
In Westlake, they're at number 9, and they have Amherst Steel coming up and Berea Mid-Park. 2 winnable games, but Berea Mid-Park has, as you've seen, been able to put up some points this year. And Amherst Steel, they're 2-6 this year, but they've had a lot of close games. And, Westlake plays them home, but then they go on the road to face Berea Mid-Park. So they can get some points there, though, with Berea Mid-Park if they can win there. They've had some really solid wins, against North Ridgeville. They beat North Olmsted, and they've beaten a good Olmsted Falls team. And that's where I think Westlake is going to get some points with that Olmsted Falls team because they're 6-2. So Westlake on the outside looking in, but some things can happen, and they can still make this playoff. It's going to be interesting in these last 2 weeks, so we'll break down, especially it's going to be fun once we are a week away from playoffs to see where teams are going to be at, but we'll cover that. And when we come back, we're going to talk Suburban League, National and American Division coming up. We'll go over our game of the week for Week 8, in which was an absolute outstanding game between Aurora and Copley, and where we're going to be coming up, and much more. Coming up, we're Sports on Tap. It's our Ohio high school football coverage. We're part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network. We're coming right back. Don't go anywhere.